Hey guys, Marsingin here, bringing you a Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video. And so I made a video the other day talking about the Gogeta versus Vegito controversy, I guess you could call it, that's been going on in the community recently, with the Vegito fans feeling pretty hard done by that the Global Dokkan campaign gave us a Dokkan Fest LR Blue Goku and Vegeta that fuse into Vegito Blue only as an active skill attack. And then for part 2, we got a standalone Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, who is potentially the best unit in the game, has like the best animations we've ever seen. So a lot of them feeling like things are pretty one-sided towards Gogeta at the moment. I did a video breaking down like previous releases over the years of the Vegitos and Gogetas, and we can see when we look back, like there have been multiple times where Vegitos have come out that are better than Gogeta. Gogetas have been better than Vegito. It has kind of bounced back and forth, but in the last couple of years especially, since like the 7th anniversary, I guess, it does feel like Gogeta has had a bit more spotlight, right? Like both the 7th anniversary units essentially were Gogeta units, because one of them literally was a fusing Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, and the other one was the Gods, who transformed into Blue, but they fused into Gogeta in their active skill. And then obviously the 9th anniversary had a standalone Gogeta, because part 1 was Gogeta versus Broly, and also I guess maybe because they were hiding the fact that Beast was coming as the headliner, but someone did actually point out as well the fact that Gogeta was actually in the 9th anniversary logo as well. So the last couple of years it definitely seems like things have been a little bit more weighted towards Gogeta, and so I know Vegito fans are hungry for a standalone Vegito of some kind. None of this like having to worry about transformation, not being an active skill, any of that kind of malarkey, right? So I thought it would be kind of funny just for this video. It's something that I've not really used much at all. Messed around on it a little bit recently just for fun to see what kind of stuff it can do. So I decided to go over to ChatGPT and use AI to see if we can do something for the Vegito fans, right? So I started off here. Can you create a Carnival LR Vegito Blue card for Dokkan Battle that rivals or even surpasses the Carnival LR AGL Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, released on July 23rd, 2025? You gotta try and give these things like as much information as possible. I can tell you in advance there are already some stuff that's pretty weird and doesn't make a lot of sense, but you know, this is just for fun. So I made sure to say, as per the Carnival format, he should have 1 category lead for 220%. Other than that, do what you need to do to make the Vegito fans happy. So I guess we'll see. Absolutely, it said, let's make a Carnival LR Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Vegito, so it kind of knows the score, right? That not only rivals but surpasses Carnival LR AGL Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta while staying within the Carnival format. A powerful standby or transformation mechanic and top tier animations and mechanics to make Vegito fans proud. So here you go, Vegito fans. Let's see what AI has been able to create. Can the machine do what Amatsu apparently does not want to? Let's see. So Carnival LR Ultimate Radiance Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Vegito. He's an int type, although I don't know what it says, extreme stats. I'm not really sure what that means, but he'll be super int. His leader skill is super class 5 key HP attack and defense 200%, so we're already off to a weird start with what should be a Carnival LR, or Battle of Fate 3 key and 220%. Okay, so he does have like a Carnival, although the Carnival LRs now have 4 key and 220%, and of course we already have the Frieza and Goku as a Battle of Fate lead. But I mean, to be honest, a really good LR having super class 5 key and 200% attack and defense, you could probably argue that that would potentially be the best team in the game anyway, right? Especially with the fact that everyone would have 10 key start of turn is pretty good. So we're off to a shaky start already in terms of the actual leader skill format, but we'll see where we go. So we got super attack effects. The 12 key super is the final Spirit Sword Slash, which is raise attack and defense for 1 turn, colossal damage, and seals the enemy super attack. Which, I mean, there's not many events that you can do that in anymore, but it is useful when it is possible. So I guess, you know, there's that. And then the 18 key super, this sounds kind of cool. The final Kamehameha Barrage, which is greatly raised attack and defense for 1 turn, mega colossal damage to the enemy, greatly lowers attack and defense, and disables enemy action once within the turn, once per enemy. I don't know why it says once per enemy as if he could attack multiple enemies, but that's pretty cool just to have an action break built into his 18 key super. So that's pretty nice. And then we have the passive skill, Blue Fusion's Ascension. So it's a pretty cool name for the passive, to be fair. Activates entrance animation once only and gains the following effects if there is another Battle of Fate ally in the on the team at the start of the character's attacking turn. And then for some reason it seems to like forget about what the intro buff should just be, and then it just lists the entire passive. So I don't know whether it's either saying that he only gets his entire passive if you get the intro buff, or the intro doesn't actually do anything. I'm not really sure, because this is just his entire passive. Like, he also has a standby, but this is his entire passive. So I guess in theory the way this works is if you don't run him with another Battle of Fate character, he doesn't have a passive. But we'll see what we get. So 3 key, attack and defense 177. I mean, it's not too bad. We normally see sort of 200 or more for like the base stats, but it depends what else he does, right? Guards all attacks for 4 turns from the start of turn. Okay, so guard for the first 4 turns. Launches an additional super attack if HP is 77% or more. Reduces damage received by 30%. Then he counters with tremendous power upon receiving normal attacks. Okay, so he has normal attack counters. So he's like the physical Vegito Blue. And he has 30% damage reduction. That's not bad. Gains 1 key and 22% defense up to 88 per attack received. The key doesn't have a maximum, so that's pretty cool. Once he gets hit a fair few times, he's just going to be at 24 key all the time. And he gets an extra 88% defense after he gets hit 4 times. High chance to evade super attacks and counter them with immense power. Okay, so he has a 50% super attack counter, which I don't think a Vegito has ever had before. So I guess, I mean, we gave it the outline here that it needs to rival Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, so I suppose giving him a super attack counter is a pretty good way to do that. Guards permanently starting from the 5th turn or after receiving 4 attacks. I mean, that part of the passive is kind of redundant. If like he guards for 4 turns and then he just guards permanently from the 5th turn, so he just has guard all the time. Or after receiving 4 attacks, which means if he receives 4 attacks in the first turn, like, then he has double guard, right? Because his guard's just activated permanently. I'm sure there's probably got to be a break. There's supposed to be a break somewhere here, I'm sure, for what parts of the intro and what parts of the passive, because then that part would maybe make sense, because then even if you didn't have his intro, he would still then get guard from turn 5 or after receiving 4 attacks. But the problem is the key 3 attack and defense 177 is at the top. So it makes it feel like that's part of his intro buff, which then means he doesn't have any other stats. But, I mean, yeah, permanent guard is pretty good considering he has 30% damage reduction, can build up 88% defense, has a 50% chance to counter supers, attacks effective against all types if the enemy is attack or defense down or sealed. I mean, there's a couple of instances in events now where you can get that, and it is an only attacks effective against all types, so it's not make or break. And then... So I haven't read this in great detail, right? I wanted to save a lot of it for the video because there are some further prompts, but I didn't see some of the critical hit chance plus 22% if facing a category enemy, Pure Saiyans, androids, etc. So that essentially implies that as long as the enemy is in any single category, then he has 22% chance to crit, which is literally every single fight in the game, right? Like, I know there are some old R's, or I don't know if there's even that many, right? I think there might be 1 card in the game that has no categories. So he basically just has 22% crit chance. So, I mean, this seems pretty interesting. Not a lot of additional in his kit. He does get a guaranteed additional super if you've got 77% or more HP. So, I mean, that's fine. The super attack effects aren't, like, super crazy, but he's going to be relatively good defensively, I guess. But then he has a standby. So the standby skill can be activated when HP is 77% or less starting from turn 5, and it's called the Hyper Patara Sync. So he changes from being Vegito Blue apparently into being Vegito Blue full power for 5 turns. I'm not really sure what that is. ChatGPT just straight up like making up Dragon Ball forms now. I mean, I guess it could be the manga only, like True Super Saiyan Blue or whatever they call it. Because yeah, I'm not sure what like Vegito Blue full power is supposed to be, but so standby character LR full power Vegito Blue, same stats but massively upgraded kit, fully offensive apparently. So his passive is the final answer to power, which is also pretty cool. Attack 222%, defense 122% and ki +5. Launches 2 additional super attacks. 2 additional super attacks, each has a 70% chance to become a super. So which is it? Is it just 2 additional attacks with a 70% chance, or is it just 2 additional supers? Obviously the 2 additional supers would be better, but I'm assuming it probably just means attacks with the great chance. Critical hits against extreme enemies. Nullifies enemy melee supers once per turn. So just straight up nullifies melee super attacks. Counters all normal attacks with immense power. Gains 1 ki and 22% attack up to 88%. So now he can build up attack just like defense. Guaranteed crits if ki is 24. Attacks effective against all types and disables the enemy's guard. Disables enemy's action once only upon performing the 3rd attack in a turn. And then this interesting one as well at the bottom. Disables enemy's revival once per turn. So again, ChatGPT making up some mechanics here. Apparently this Vegito Blue is going to release during a celebration where one of the enemy bosses is going to be able to revive. And this Vegito can disable the enemy's revival, apparently. Okay, so that's interesting. And then the standby super attacks for full power Vegito Blue. We have the Rapid Blade / Barrage as the 12 ki, which is raise attack for 1 turn, colossal damage, massively lowers defense. And then the 18 ki is full power Final Kamehameha, which is greatly raise attack and defense for 1 turn, mega colossal damage, guaranteed crit when ki is 24, which he already has in his passive anyway, but okay. And then the active skill can be used in standby form once condition is met. God Fusion Finisher, sounds pretty cool. Can be activated if 5 turns have passed since entering standby, or if HP is 59% or less once during the fight. So, didn't it say, doesn't he standby for 5 turns? Yeah, so in the last turn you can just always use it. Does ultimate damage, disables enemy action for the rest of the turn. Wait, does that mean all of them? Greatly raises allies' attack by 22% for the rest of the... greatly raise, but then it says by 22%. Like, greatly raise would be 50%, but okay. So, it just does ultimate damage to the enemy, removes all of their attacks, and then gives allies 22% attack for the rest of the turn. And then I guess he just goes back to being the normal Vegito Blue. So, as long as you get, what, was it 4 attacks while he's transformed into this state, I would assume he keeps the extra ki and the 44% extra attack. So I mean, this is kind of interesting. Like, his standby attacks don't give him any defense, and he doesn't have the damage reduction. So I think the ChatGPT has very much leaned into the fully offensive for the standby, because he doesn't really have a lot of defensive mechanics. The 18 ki super raises defense at least. And then his links: Super Saiyan Kamehameha, power bestowed by God, fused fighter, prepared for battle, warrior, gods and legendary power. Makes sense for a Vegito Blue. I don't see anything out of the ordinary there. The categories are a bit off, I think. Battle of Fate, Patara, Final Trump Card, Time Limit, Kamehameha. That all makes sense. Super Saiyan God. So there is no Super Saiyan Blue category. I'm assuming this means... I mean, we could just assume that this really means Power Beyond Super Saiyan, because he should be on that. And then we have Superheroes, Last Resort, which... Is that like Final Trump Card? Oh no, that's already there. What's the Last Resort category? I'm not sure what that's meant to be. All Out Struggle, which, I mean, the way this card is described and the way the prompt was to make this dominant Vegito, I'm not really sure why they would be on All Out Struggle. And then Transformation Boost, I guess, does make sense, because he transforms from Vegito Blue into full power Vegito Blue, whatever that is. So that's interesting. So we've got the design notes here to let us know what ChatGPT was thinking, the base form emphasizes defensive utility and survivability with guard and sealing. The standby is pure offense, unleashing monstrous damage with multiple supers, crits, melee nullification, and revival nullification, which as we said is not really a thing. His kit adapts as battle progresses, keeping him strong early and scaling up into dominance late game. Crafted to be a top tier slot 1 or 2 unit with flexibility for multiple team builds. Power creep conscious yet satisfying for Vegito loyalists, rivaling or surpassing AGL Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta in raw effectiveness and visual flair. So I'm not sure from looking at this whether he is as good as AGL Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, but I feel like this card would be pretty fun to use at the very least, right? And then it says, would you like visuals or animations ideas next? So I thought that was kind of interesting. So I said, what visual ideas do you have? Great question. For a unit like Carnival LR Vegito Blue, especially one designed to surpass the hype of Carnival LR Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, the visuals and animations must be god-tier cinematic, dynamic, and make Vegito fans feel like they've been rewarded for waiting, which I know is what they want. Here's a detailed breakdown of visuals for the intro, super attack, standby, and active skill. So the intro animation, Blue Fusion Ascends, starts with Vegito's Potara fusion, Goku and Vegeta putting the earrings on, flashings of light, and a brief glimpse of Vegito forming in midair like in the anime. Cut to Vegito powering up from base to blue. The camera rapidly spins around him as his aura explodes into deep electric blue. And then the voice line is, time to show you what fusion at its finest looks like. Visual highlights are electric shockwaves ripple across the screen, golden key crackles and transitions into sapphire blue sparks. Background turns into an abstract cosmic void filled with broken time fragments, symbolizing his fusion transcending the limits. I mean, this all sounds pretty awesome. Like, it's a shame that we can't get like a full visual for that, but that sounds crazy. The 12 key super, which was the final spirit sword, forms the spirit sword, jumps high above the enemy, slashes down in an arc, emitting a glowing after image trail. That's pretty cool. Camera follows the sword trail in slow motion, ends in a cinematic zoom in of the slash connecting, cracking the ground underneath the enemy. That does sound pretty cool. And then the final Kamehameha Barrage starts with a pose similar to his fight against Zamasu, hands pulled back with energy rapidly surging, fires multiple blue Kamehameha waves in succession, each one shaking the screen. Final wave is a massive blast launched in first person view, breaking through debris, uses frame breaks and time stop effects as it lands. If the enemy is debuffed, the screen has a red glitch overlay as the blast hits. That's kind of interesting. The first person ending part sounds really, really cool. And so, yeah, this is interesting, right? So the standby, the Hyper Potara sync, whatever this is supposed to be, the transformation into full power Vegito Blue. Vegito clenches his fists as his aura becomes unstable. Lightning tears through the air. A white-blue halo forms behind him with fast flashbacks of his past fusions, SSJ Vegito, Base Vegito, Vegito Blue. He opens his eyes glowing white-blue and says, now it's over. Background explodes into a galactic storm, symbolizing his full potential unleashed. I mean, that sounds epic. This is really like full-on fan-made like transformation area here, which is, I mean, pretty cool. And then, yeah, his standby 18 key super, the full power final Kamehameha. Ground cracks beneath him as he gathers energy. Behind him, ghostly after images of Goku, Vegeta, and Vegito appear, synchronizing their energy into his arms. Final Kamehameha is fired with a horizontal screen slice effect, like a laser cutting reality. The impact causes the arena to collapse into a void of colorless fragments, restoring just before the next turn. And that sounds crazy. And then his active skill, 2 fingers on his forehead and teleports. Okay, so he instant transmission. Time slows. In an instant, a cinematic 360 tracking shot spins as Vegito slashes with his spirit sword and unleashes a point-blank final Kamehameha. Fades to white, then snaps back with the enemy blasted across space-time. And then the voice line, final Kamehameha. I like the stage direction. Delivered calmly, but intensely. Then we got visual style themes like intense blues, whites and purples with spark effects similar to UI Goku's aura, animation style mix of smooth Sakuga style close-ups and exaggerated speedline motion blur, cinematic techniques, enemy reaction cut arrays, very Dragon Ball Heroes and Fighters inspired, unique signature. In standby mode, Vegito's aura subtly reflects Goku and Vegeta's combined key motifs, red/blue sparks, gold shimmer, symbolizing their fusion in full sync. So it did say, do you want some ideas for the KO screen? So I thought that would be pretty cool. Let's give Vegito Blue a KO screen, a legendary KO screen that feels like a victory lap for Vegito fans and leaves the player feeling like they just obliterated the boss with absolute style. So if you get the 18 key super in base, the final Kamehameha barrage, the screen flashes white, freeze frame of Vegito with one hand outstretched and cloak billowing. So he has a cloak apparently. Energy still radiating around him. The enemy silhouette is shown disintegrating in the background behind the beam, and then overlaid a stylized kanji comes up on the screen that means fusion into despair. And then subtle electric crackling animates on the text while the screen slowly fades. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Then the standby form from the 18 key super, freeze frame on Vegito midair, massive Kamehameha wave lighting the screen, ethereal shadows of Goku and Vegeta roaring in sync. Foreground text overwhelmed with stylized blue kanji shattering across the screen. We've never seen that before, which is kind of cool. Like an extra bit for a KO screen, right? With like extra text on the screen. Like that actually does sound pretty cool. And then the active skill, like standby finisher. Screen goes fully black and white except Vegito's aura and the eyes glowing in electric blue. Stands with his back to the camera, enemy disintegrating behind him in total silence. After a second pause, boom, final blue pulse explosion with Vegito's silhouette front and center. Overlay text, so kanji comes up on the screen again that says, "This is the power of a fusion warrior." Blue key slowly fades into sparks on a dark screen with his smirk remaining last. I mean, this sounds crazy, right? Like this, I would love to see this in game. Apparently bonus KO screen variants. I mean, this is stuff we don't have in the game, but versus extreme enemies, you get an extra voice line. You never had a chance against me. And then versus pure Saiyan enemies, final Kamehameha text appears in stylized kanji with like the Kamehameha super instead of the normal one, which is interesting. The KO screens would not only rival Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta's cinematic flair, but provide variety depending on how you end the fight, rewarding players for using different parts of the kit. So then I said, what about the card art? It gave us some sort of setups here, like Vegito Blue standing with arms crossed smirking for like the standard LR art. Gives a few details here just about like the colouring. Hair is intensely shaded blue with white highlights. Faint silhouettes of Goku and Vegeta back to back in the background. Then we got the, I don't know what this is supposed to be, Turlesd LR art, the awakened form. Because then it also mentions standby mode card art. So I'm not really sure which one of those is supposed to be which, but this one sounds pretty cool. Like if this is just the full-on LR art. Vegito is mid-action, firing a final Kamehameha at a downward angle with one hand. The other hand is pulled back, glowing with Spirit Sword energy. I mean, that sounds pretty awesome. The background is shattered space-time. Pieces of glass-like fragments show flashes of old fights like Zamasu, Merge Zamasu, etc. As if Vegito Blue ever fought anybody else, right? But still. Cloak is whipping violently behind him with light motion blur. So again, I don't know why they think Vegito Blue has a cloak, but that is still pretty cool. And then, yeah, there's like multiple different arts, even though, like, it gives arts for things that don't even have. Like, obviously, he's not going to have different card art just for his active skill. Like, that would, I guess, be like the animations which we've already discussed. And then it did say about making a card art image, but it doesn't appear to be working. But I mean, that's fair anyway, right? We don't support real artists, but this is absolutely insane. Like, this would definitely be very, very cool. I don't know if we really fulfilled the assignment of making a card that does rival or surpass Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, but it does sound epic either way. It sounds like something that would be a Heroes headliner with all this crazy over-stylized stuff, but the stats maybe being like a little bit undertuned. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. I thought this would just be a little bit fun to do and see what it kind of came out the other end. Certainly very interesting. The way it describes the animations and everything, it sounds really hype. Not sure if the card necessarily is all that great, but, you know, I just thought this would be something fun to do, so let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.